Welcome back once again to another Shark Show, part 2 of our series on wastewater, backroom deals, and moratorium. Let's listen to the reaction of some of the city council members, starting with Mr. Mobley.
Councilman Mobley.
So Keith, just a minute. Would you say we've been making an attempt to stay ahead of the growth that we've had in this city in the last several years?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, we have, as far as making an attempt to try to answer the growth, absolutely. The city has done, I think, above average job at, not only just the planning part.
All right. Now, listening to just these video clips, and go back and please listen for yourself, how could you say something about the city has done a good attempt at this?
Well, it's kind of like with anything in life. Sometimes you try and you just give it your all, but you're just not good enough.
Apparently, I don't know what kind of an attempt they think is a good attempt, but this is far from a good attempt.
Right, and I think Keith's being a little bit generous by saying they're average or a little above average.
Well, he's getting paid by them, right?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So it's got to be at least a C, right? It can't
Maybe
be a D or an F.
C+.
Yeah.
You signed my check. You're doing okay.
Let's listen a little further on this attempt that the city's done. I think Mobley's been there, 5 years, maybe 6?
Yeah.
And the mayor's been there a lot longer.
Something about it.
Yeah, or long enough to know. And remember those numbers here. 5 years, that's maybe 2015, 2016, because some of these dates coming up are going to be really important towards the end of this video.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the existing plant to handle all of this capacity and let everything roll there, and then the folks that live next to a plant, they knew it when they got there. How did those discussions go, and why did we not do that?
As far as expanding the existing plant,
Why are we not able to do that?
well, there's 2 reasons. One, you have TCEQ that has said, 2 MGD is what you are limited to. That's what you have at the wastewater treatment plant. Secondly, you would have to go back and rework an agreement you have with the surrounding landowners, and that's if TCEQ agreed for you to even expand that plant.
So what we have is Keith's trying to say, look, the plant down here on Water's Edge is limited to 2 million gallons of wastewater a day. And Councilman Mobley knows exactly what's going on, is that they're in dire need of a wastewater treatment plant, and they can't wait for a regional plant. Right. So they need this plant right now, and they've needed it for 5-6 years.
Yeah.
So now comes the good part. City Councilman Eddie Rodriguez asked a question to Keith.
What is your take on a regional plant? How long will it take to go through that process? And what's your opinion on that?
If you were going to do a regional plant, it should have been done 20 years ago, because that's about how long it's going to take.
What we posted for is comments regarding the moratorium, and that's outside the scope of what we
Gotcha.
posted for, and we don't want to violate the Open Meetings Act by going outside the scope of that.
So once again, time out. We mentioned the region.
That must be the 4-letter word.
Not one of our plants. So the lift station problem, not the wastewater problem, but it's the region plant, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we better backtrack on that one. But I kind of get where Councilman Rodriguez was going. He was trying to get something from Keith about what is the deal with the region plant. And once again, Courtney, you brought it up. It was already 10 years in the making.
Right.
The city and county just couldn't get together to do it. Just
Right.
lack of foresight.
Why didn't we start sooner? We really didn't get out of capacity until 2016. And like I said, we were already thinking about preliminary discussions were already going on.
So they didn't get out of capacity until 2016, and they were thinking about it. By golly, they are attempting to think about it. And when you attempt to think about it, you really do some hard work attempting to think about something. Yeah. So it's a good thing we attempted to think about something in 2016. Moving along to another council person, Councilman Wadley, and his question about the percentages.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Wadley.
Rick, you said that when we hit 75%, we need to plan something, which happened in 2016. And when you hit 90%, you're supposed to be doing construction, which we are doing. Have we hit the 90%?
Yes, sir.
Is that an often thing, or?
Not consistently. Or consistently, we have hit it. We're not every day, every month.
Okay, that's all.
So basically, he gets his answer. You know, they were 75% in 16, 90%, and it's consistently.
Right.
But not consistently. But yes, consistently. So the theme of this is we need a new plant. They waited too long. They attempted and failed. Let's get this plant done. But along with that, let's go with looking at a regional plant. And on this next clip, I got to give a hat tip to Mayor Nin Hewlett for letting everybody speak 3 minutes instead of the normal 2.
How gracious.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, let's listen.
It's your lucky night, though. We were going to do 2 minutes, but I think I'm going to let you talk for 3 minutes out there. So I'm going to give everybody 3 minutes to speak at the public hearing. And
So here we go. 3 minutes. I mean, I joke about it, but I'm glad they're doing this. You know, the county had a problem. Nate, you were involved with that, with citizen speaking. And, you know, this 2 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, you know, at some point in time, the citizen's going to have to come up and say, you know, we got to speak. We have to be heard.
Right.
And you're going to have to listen. Whether you're there for an hour or 5 hours, you're going to have to listen to the people. Mm-hmm. So now that we went through the wastewater treatment portion, the moratorium treatment portion, let's get to, I guess, the backroom deals. Maybe somebody needs to take a look at this. It just doesn't look good. And, you know, during the videos that you've watched, you know, we've asked you to look at the dates, look at the times. Now we're going to move back to June 4th, 2019, a city council meeting on item number 16 on their agenda for involuntary annexation, which is forced annexation.
Right.
Yeah.
So look back and listen and kind of see who's on this court, and let's kind of get into some of these dates, times, land, and then a little bit later I'm going to bring up the post-closing development agreement. And remember, wastewater, okay, moratorium, why we have to have that, because of the wastewater. Listen to the first clip.
moving on to number 16, which is consider adopting ordinance number 1939. Call upon Chris Kaufman to read into that one, if you would, please, Chris.
You bet. Again, this is similar to what we just did, just a different location. It's circled on the map as Section 2. It's approximately 800 acres. And it's generally located north of 377 along Old Granbury Road, Meander Road. We did solicit non-annexation agreements and received a few. And what's really surprising is how few we received. So.
Okay.
Leave it at that.
So here we have Chris Coffin speaking about this deliberation agenda number 16, considering adopting ordinance number 1939, which is the purchase of, well, the annexation of, all right, we'll get to purchase later, but the annexation of 800 acres.
Right.
And where does this seem to be, Nate?
That's right around that area. They're wanting to put that wastewater treatment facility, and I think some developers have a couple projects going over there.
That wouldn't be the New Era Granbury LLC, would it?
That would be, actually, yeah.
Oh, so now things are starting to tie together. Mm-hmm. And if you notice the people, the crowd, the citizens started to laugh when Chris Kaufman said, I'm surprised we received as few of these annexation letters as we did.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't send them out, you're not going to get them back, right? And there's been a theme of that going on where people have, told us here at Blue Shark, they haven't gotten anything for that annexation stuff.
Right.
Nothing in the mail at all. So let's start tying some more things together. Now we have some land. Now we have some annexation. So let's see what comes next.
One is where it talks about service plans for the type annexation we're doing.
So when the service plan was presented during the two public hearings, we talked during the two public hearings about the rural nature of this and that no capital improvements are being proposed. We've vetted that inquiry through the department heads and allowing the
So, Nate, what do you think?
Well, he says that there are no capital improvements being proposed on that land, but that kind of contradicts everything we saw in the post-closing agreement.
Right. So now we have the 800 acres, and we can even delve into, how it was purchased, how it was annexed, who purchased it, who was the real estate person that did it, was it a fair market price? I mean, there's so many things to, I would hate to say investigate, but look into, because you bring it together with the wastewater treatment plant, and it all starts kind of forming another smell.
Yeah, maybe it is something they need to investigate.
Right. So if this service agreement they're talking about is rural in nature.
That's what he says, yeah.
And are there any capital improvements that are going to go on there that they know about?
Scott says there aren't any capital improvements being planned, and that's on June 4th, but the very day before, the city entered into a post-closing agreement with New Era Granbury that outlines capital improvements by the city. So what you have here is city officials lying through their teeth in open court.
Yeah, you have some things going on that, Chris Kaufman has known about, certain city officials have known about. I don't even know if city council members, mayor have known about. If you look at the post-closing agreement, and the post-closing agreement was filed through Hood County, and it was filed on June 7th of 2019. And the post-closing agreement is an agreement between New Era Granbury, LLC, and the city of Granbury.
They sent it in on June 7th, but what day is it dated for?
This right here, they entered into it on June 3rd.
So the day before this meeting.
Just before,
Yes.
Yeah.
The day before the meeting.
How much in capital improvements was on that?
I believe if you read through here, it might be about $300,000 of capital improvements, from fencing to 8-inch water lines to you name it. But, one of the biggest things, and we haven't had a whole lot of time to go over this, and that's why, I really wish one of the new city council people, like, Greg Corrigan, and we'll see here soon, made a motion for this agenda item to go through. So maybe if we can get Councilman Corrigan and Councilman Rodriguez, he's pretty new, at least to kind of look into this and see maybe if this was done kind of at the peril of the citizens. Was there too much tax money spent? Who paid for this? How was it paid for? And if you look at this, agreement, it goes, like I said, from fencing to pipelines. But what really kind of stuck out to me was 7B of this agreement. And if you look, you can look it up at the Hood County Clerk's office, and the number's 2019, which is 2019-0007276. And that's the number you can look up. But if you look at 7B, it has to do with sovereign immunity.
Now, what does that mean, Mike?
Well, the parties acknowledge that the city waives its sovereign immunity as to the suit solely for the purpose of adjudicating a claim under this agreement. So basically, they're waiving the right and says, New Era Granbury, you can sue us if we don't go by this. And, copies of this agreement went to the city of Granbury, Coach and Rose, the Hyde Law Firm, attention Jeremy Sorrell, who's still up there, and so all this has been known to several people. Well, this was signed the 3rd day of June, 2019, by New Era Granbury Holdings, LLC. And that was how many days before this city council agenda?
1 day.
Oh, yeah, okay. But as reported up here, there's
no
plans.
No plans. It's all rural, right?
Yeah.
And this was, the instrument was sworn and subscribed to me on the 17th day of April 2019. So April 2019, about 6 weeks prior to this, and it has Chris Kaufman, the city of Granbury, and it's notarized by Carla Walker. So, you get a chance and you want some light reading, go through this exhibit and see, at least be truthful and transparent to the people. If you have something going with New Era, and we described that in another video, in the plaza and the 3-4 story hotel and all this stuff, but what do you think they need? Do you think they can come in with that building and not have a new wastewater treatment plant?
No way. We already need it without any new buildings.
Right. So who's going to be on the hook for this agreement now that we, the city, have waived the sovereign immunity?
We are.
The taxpayers.
Yeah. So there's something going on here, folks, that is just way out of place. So let's listen to this council meeting once again back in 2019.
So there's no plans to do any water or sewer? Is that what you just said?
No capital improvements are proposed as a part of the service plans that are being presented. That was discussed.
So in our plan of our city, you're saying none of this has never been planned for sewer or water?
No, what we're saying is we're not required.
So if you can look at the expression of Scott,
Yeah.
when we had a councilman ask him if there's any capital improvements planned,
Yeah.
and everybody keeps saying no. So Chris Kaufman jumps in, right?
Yeah, Chris Kaufman jumps in to save Scott over there. Looked like a kid that got his hand caught in the cookie jar.
Right. Because we all know from this file copy of the post-closing development agreement that there's been capital improvements on this for months.
Yeah. So there's plans.
So let's listen to Chris Kaufman, the city manager, trying to explain his way out of it.
No, what we're saying is we're not required to provide service to those areas under the annexation that we're doing.
Okay, my question is, have we ever tried it?
Have we tried
Have we ever done a design?
No, we just got through doing our capital improvement plan, and we're working on building capacity. We will have capacity for this land and acreage if they're annexed.
But if a building,
So we will have capacity if a builder comes in, and we'll have capacity for this. To you, what does capacity mean?
Capacity for services, so wastewater, freshwater.
Infrastructure,
Right.
roads, things like that. So he's convinced we're going to have, what, capacity
Right.
for wastewater.
That we
Is in
don't,
16 was 75%. Now they're 90%, and they're having spillage. And this is, what, a little over a year ago.
Right.
So he wants his big development to come in, and he knows about it, but he's not saying it here to the citizens.
Right.
When he should have said, look, we have this development coming in. You know, we need a wastewater treatment plant. You know, everything's planned, but he couldn't talk about it.
No.
Couldn't or decided not to, I don't know.
Okay, let's listen to the vote on item number 16 and see where we're going. And remember, there wasn't a whole lot of talk on the city council about this, except from the city manager and the city workers.
Councilperson Reiner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Mobley, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Wadley, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Allen, how do you vote?
nay.
Councilman Corrigan, how do you vote? Folks, if you could keep your applause and your statements, the council's trying to do the work up here, and we'd appreciate you conducting yourself as the citizens out there, not a cheerleading squad, please. Councilman Corrigan, how did you vote?
Aye.
And I vote aye. That is approved.
So you have item number 16 approved on the agenda. And now that you guys know the backstory, Councilman Rodriguez wasn't on the council at this time. That's why I'm asking, and we're kind of asking if, you know, Councilman Corrigan and Rodriguez can look into this and why they out and out, Chris Kaufman lied to the citizens, knowing that they had this post-closing agreement, knowing as far back as 2015 that this New Area Granbury Holdings LLC was coming into this location, knowing that they already had work done, and knowing that they needed a wastewater treatment plant. You have to at one point in time say, what's going on with the city council?
Yeah, what's going on? That's a great
Yeah,
question.
I mean, we're looking at our tax dollars. If you would have come to the citizens in 2016 and say, we're at 75% capacity, we need something right now, or we're going to be at 90% and sewage is going to be in the street, the citizens would have said yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, we are growing. That's what government tax is for, is infrastructure.
Yeah.
But no, did they?
No, they didn't.
They've hidden it.
They waited until they had no other choice, and then now they want to dump it in the county's backyard. And a beautiful piece of land up back there.
Did you mean waited? Because we're waiting for this stuff, or waited?
Double entendre.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's something, we talk about backroom deals and we kind of laugh about it, but, is this the epitome of what's going on in local government,
It seems to be. It's unfortunate that it seems to be happening here too. Wait until the last minute when your back's over against a wall and you have no alternative, and what are you going to do? I mean, we've got to have a wastewater treatment plant, but it's just it is, in my mind, ridiculous that it's come about the way that it has.
Right. It could have been beneficial for everybody to have a regional plant had we started 10 years ago, if you could get the city and the county to sit down and talk to each other.
Yeah, and, I'll tell you, I wouldn't mind being one of the board members over at New Era, because they got a pretty sweet deal out of this. Between that land purchase for the wastewater treatment plant and the upgrades on capital improvements on the other, it's about $1 million right there, isn't it?
Well, and when they spoke about those 800 acres, that's something that, we could look into maybe a little bit deeper, but I sure would like to see Councilman Corrigan and Councilman Rodriguez look into this,
right,
and at least stand up for the citizens and say, this is what we found. Yeah, I guess, we should have known about it, but we didn't. So you drop the ball. Mm-hmm. All right, let's pick it up, move forward. Let's get this wastewater treatment plant built, because we need it more than anything right now. We don't want sewage floating in the streets.
The annexation, the wastewater treatment facility, and this moratorium, they are all three tied together, whether or not the city wants to admit it, right? So where they're wanting to put that wastewater treatment facility that we badly need somewhere, where they're wanting to put that was forcibly annexed just last year. It's got some shady dealings around it that we're not going to get into right now. But all these things are tied, and I remember sitting in the audience that day when they were doing that forced annexation vote, and everybody knew something was up. Like when you see your government trying to ramrod something like they're doing with this wastewater treatment and they did with the annexation, guys, put your ears up. I mean, your spidey sense goes off for a reason. And what we are starting to uncover here could be pretty bad for a few people.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this is where our elected officials need to come in and step up to the plate and do some investigating of their own to find out what's really going on here. And give the citizens the information they deserve. I mean, obviously we need a wastewater treatment plant. That's happening. We've needed it for a while, but there's some other stuff going on that needs to be looked into.
Thank you both for the input. This is something that, we've uncovered during this moratorium and wastewater treatment fiasco is what I would call it. Should have been done a lot sooner. It wasn't, so let's move along and get it done. But this is part of what Blue Shark does. We're looking at truth and transparency, and we look at these meetings and we see anything but, and I'm not saying everybody up there is a bad person. What I'm saying is, if you're going to be elected, whether you get paid $1,000 a month or $75,000 a year or whatever it is, you better darn well do your homework, because there's going to be some people that are trying to ramrod things through on the city council that's going to affect the citizens. Right. And this should have been done 4 years ago, and it wasn't.
Right.
So it's about time that people step up, look at their elected officials and say, it's time for you to do your homework, and it's time for you to step up. We're no longer a one-horse town, like it or not, and we're fixing to spend a lot of money. Let's just make sure that they do it the right way. And for today, Shark Show out.